Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your host, Keith Marney.
Out of practice.
And Pennsylvania resident, Mike Indiglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
Oh, yeah. We were drumming. I forgot to say anything.
Out of practice.
Nothing's changed for you, but it's been like a month since we've seen each other.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a podcast that talks about David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to Season 5, Episode 6, Show and Tell. We have a lot to show and tell today. It is the Out of Practice podcast 90th episode, and we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, so I forgot exactly what the hell we do on the show. But how's it going? You are now in an undisclosed location near Philadelphia.
That's true. We, as is usually our MO, I unpacked very quickly.
Yes.
I think we discussed on the pod. I can't handle too much box clutter. So the second we got here, we probably overdid it. We got ready a little too fast, but regardless, we got unloaded. I got a new studio set up. I can't even imagine the technical crapola you're going to notice. It's probably going to sound wrong, look wrong. Everything's going to be wrong, but here we are. We're here. We made it. We're happy. And
the new place looks great. I sent me a couple of screenshots from your creepy surveillance system all throughout your house.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks amazing.
It's fun, man. It's literally double the size of our last apartment, so I'm adjusting to that reality.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how to work a thermostat. I'm learning how to work a dishwasher and a laundry machine or washing machine. A laundry machine.
The clothes make nicer, not smelling anymore. Yeah.
I'll tell you the biggest kind of culture shock so far is driving everywhere. It's weird.
Sure. Yeah.
It's weird. That's it. That's all I have.
That's it. That is the only difference between New York City and suburbia. Well, I'm excited for you, and we're not that far behind. We're about a month and a half behind you guys, but we're sort of getting ready. I'm ready to not be in this tiny little apartment that's falling apart around me. So
yeah, I think that you will find that the stress will start to ramp up even higher than you think it can or will, and then it will subside. I didn't, spoiler alert, this is going to be a little graphic, but I didn't go to the bathroom on the number 2 variety for going on 5 days. I think that was just like stress binding. And I knew that I had passed the stress threshold once I was liberated.
I got a very big dick.
boom.
Oh man, if you thought that moving would make us outgrow poop jokes, boy, were you wrong. Boy, were you wrong.
That was so. We have one co-host who, if he can't wipe himself, wants to be put down, and the other one wants to talk about.
Needs to talk about
the prodigious. Wow. Okay. Well, that's exciting. Well, we're excited. I'm excited to get back in the swing of things because we took a couple of weeks off, and we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But we have one of our occasional segments, but we have a lot to talk about in our occasional segment. that I'm setting up for you to get the graphic for, entitled our loudest occasional segment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, that's what I needed because we don't usually go there first.
I saw the terror in your eyes and the confusion in your eyes.
Yep. I'm ready now.
Well, all right. Here we go. Let us all scream
I
it
thought you were
out
having
into
a
the
stroke.
universe.
I just
together.
thought you were stroking out. Yeah.
Look, I might from the stress. I'm not having any lower issues, but I might be stroking out from stress. But happily, we have So I'm pretty excited. I hope that you got the screenshots that I put in the folder.
I do.
Because I found out this week that I didn't even know about that not only did my co-host, Mr. Mike Indeglio, he's about to have a TV show come out. Not only is he in it, he's one of the leads in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you filmed it so long ago, I didn't even know you had done it at all. So
yeah, I forgot it had happened also because a lot of times you film these like pilot things. Well, go ahead and keep pitching it and then I'll explain the whole ramp up.
Yeah. Okay. So it is. Where is this going to be? It's a show called The Naturals, and
it is airing on YouTube. It's a YouTube show.
Awesome. A YouTube. It's like one of the YouTube premium dealies.
I don't even think so. I think it's just like on YouTube.
Awesome. And it's about you and your family going through a crisis. There's been a death in the family, and then it gets all murdery. Yeah.
So a bunch of years ago, many years ago, I shot a web series episode with this creator, Caitlin Graham. And a few years after that, it was like a one-line kind of thing. A few years after that, she asked me what I was up to, and I said, not a lot. I think on the set of that, I'd said, hey, you should write something for us. We look like we could be brother and sister. And years later, she did. And it's a kind of an LGBTQ slanted crime show. Often, we've talked about this on the pod, actually. Often these types of shows are helmed by men, run by men. And this was like an all-female crew, female director, female writers. And it's, the father of this family is a hitman and he dies. We don't really know how he dies just yet. And maybe his daughter's going to take up the mantle and I'm the brother of this girl. And season 1 is, it's 5-10 minute episodes. We find out what's happening. It's kind of a pitch, and they're submitting it to a bunch of stuff. You know how this thing goes. Hopefully, there's a season 2 if they can find funding and whatnot. But I guess they're going to gauge what the legs of the piece are based on how many views and all that. I don't really know how YouTube works, as you can tell by our YouTube channel. But it was great. I totally forgot I shot it until they were like, "Hey, do you want to come to the premiere party?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we did a thing.
Right?
And
it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. You're terrific on it. Let's put up on the screen. I took a couple of screenshots of our co-host here looking all angsty and fancy. Look at that. Look at you all sad.
Yeah, there was this one scene that thank God the edit is cut down. I'm supposed to be having a nightmare and they cut my tongue out and I'm all bleeding.
Oh, I forgot to screenshot that. That was awesome.
And but that shot, when they shot it, was actually like long. It tracked us all the way up the stairs, me getting chased, and then the crawling on the floor, and then like panic attacking and crying, and it was really stressful. And then it gets cut down to like 10 seconds. So the thing I love about film and TV is that regardless of how you felt, they always make you look better than you were. And so I'm thankful for that.
That's what we don't do here that we should.
Yeah, so I'll put links in the show notes. But
when does it premiere?
All 5 episodes will go live on YouTube on November 13th, which is my birthday.
Amazing. Yeah. Not only your birthday, but a very important birthday.
Yes, an undisclosed
birthday. We're coming up
birthday.
on Mike's big 4-0. So, guys, get ready. Get ready. We're going to have to celebrate this in style.
Can Keith outclass the really bad animation I made for his, which I think was just the lips of the cast of the show singing "Happy Birthday"? I think is all I did.
That was true. Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on that.
Impressive is a word. Impressive is a word.
No, well, I mean, it made an impression upon my eyes.
It was a consumption of time.
Definitely was. So check out Mike and Deglio on the Naturals on the YouTubes. Check it out. It's gonna be really fun. I hope you get picked up for season 2.
Me too. And it was shot in Boston, which is nice. It was cool. It was great. It was a great group of people to work with, and I was happy to have something to do. That was back in the days when there was work to be had.
Right. Yeah. Remember those days? Those were fun.
And
those were fun. Okay, folks. Well,
hold on. I have a bunch of stuff I want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. You talk.
There's 2 of us. You'll recall. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the discussion of my work, but there's other people making stuff, and I have a list.
Oh my God.
So a couple of shows I'm going to just shout out. We obviously can't have comprehensive conversation about all of them, but here's what I've been watching.
Okay.
I finished season 1 of The Vow on HBO. I believe I brought it up before. Yes, we brought it up on the pod before. It's the Keith Raniere Nexium sex cult show.
Right.
I have to say, I was really, it's such an interesting topic. And I'm not into cults, but I'm interested in cults. I'm really into
sex cults.
We've talked about the Scientology documentaries before. I'm into how people are manipulated in that way. I'm interested in. And this.
So if you'd like to join Mike's sex cult, email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com.
This show takes a really topical, interesting, mysterious subject and draws it out too long, makes it all about the documentarians instead of about the subject being documented, and does.
Can't imagine who would do that sort of a show.
And does the terrible, instead of giving you any sort of satisfactory conclusion, it just teases season 2. It breaks it does all the things that I hate, and yet I was still raptured by it for 9 hours of my life. However, Starz is releasing a 4-hour version of a documentary that apparently is much more succinct and to the point. So I will be checking that out as well.
Interesting. Wow, my phone started ringing and I silenced it on the phone, but my iPad is too far away from me. So enjoy the sound of my ringing phone.
Yes, we will do that.
In addition, right back. Hold on, let's find out what this is. They called right back. No, they just dropped. I have no idea what's going on.
They're going to pretend that somebody stole your identity. I've been getting that call a bunch.
Yeah, well, it's either that or something about the house. So
okay, well then for that we will defer. But until it's proven that it's about the house, I'm continuing to do our podcast.
Do it. Do the podcast.
Next is a show I've been talking about, The West Wing. The West Wing I wish I could remember the voting. What was it? It was
a season 4 episode.
Yes. It's Hearthville Station, or regardless, The West Wing had a reunion. They say it's not a reunion, but it is. They bring back the cast to do a quote unquote staged reading of an episode, but it's really actually an entirely staged performance. And there's a bunch of special guests and a bunch of PSAs about voting. And I'll just succinctly tell you why I loved it and wept openly. The West Wing already combined television shooting, television editing, mixed with very cinematic direction and cinematic shots, shot setup and lighting. So it was a merger of those two things. What this does is adds a menage a trois to that coupling, right? It adds theatrical...
To your sex cult.
Yes. It adds theatrical intensity and abstraction. So whereas the West Wing itself, the White House, was a major player in the show, it's not in any way depicted on the stage. So they have to do these abstractions. And if you saw To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway, it's very much set the same way. Everything is very abstracted, and it actually focuses you on the actors more. You focus on the text more. And because they're on stage, there's an intensity under those stage lights that the actors bring that you don't get as much on television with television editing. And so it's just, and not to mention, the actors have all aged 20 years, and so bring this aged gravitas to all of the performances, which are just wonderful. Biggest thing to note is the actor, I can't remember his name, that portrayed Leo, the president's head
chief of staff.
Had passed away in the
Sterling
final
K.
season.
Brown, wasn't it?
Yes, Sterling K. Brown takes over the role, and obviously he can't fill the shoes, but he gives you the typical Sterling K. Brown. He's wonderful, but he's always, it's that guy. It's always that one performance. Very intense, very great. The whole thing was just like a love letter to democracy, a love letter to the show. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it.
I have to see it. I mean, I'm super psyched for it. I love The West Wing. I love democracy. I love all of it. But I'm super excited to see it.
Also watched a Netflix documentary. It's their new crime thing. It's called The Family Next Door, and it's this terrible murder mystery story of a murder that is just terrible in every way, shape, or form. But what's cool about the documentary is that it's all first-person shots, meaning that they take police body cam video, FBI interviews, everything that is there is no reenactments, right? So it's all first-hand footage, which is harrowing. Really, It's really worth a watch. And then finally, I watched a bunch of stuff, but I want to mention I watched this Netflix Dolly Parton documentary.
Oh.
We all know her music. I think her story as a songwriter, which is what this is about, and her career is really fascinating. And if you even have a passing interest in just as a creator, as a writer, I think that this is absolutely a must-watch. Well shot. Her story is pretty amazing. Her ability to have separated her career and her personal life through the entirety of both is pretty amazing. And her feminism without being an overt feminist to protect so that she wasn't labeled that, so she could, have her rise in a very sort of conservatively slanted genre is a pretty crazy
well, her
navigation
intelligence has always shown through in her songwriting, in the way that she's, lived her life and been a person and a celebrity at the same time. Like, she's clearly incredibly bright.
Yeah, it's a great doc, and of course every song is a banger, so well worth a watch. So that's the majority of what I've been watching on More TV.
Amazing. All right. Well, other people have been watching things, including us, and they have a lot of feelings about it. And we're going to talk about it in a segment we call
Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas.
We have a new friend who wrote on our blog, which is exciting because I haven't updated it for season 5 at all yet, but I promise I will. But our friend Jeannie Coefficient wrote, "Nice pod. Here is a fun casting fact that might amuse you. One of the nuns in your header pick above talking to Helen," and I believe this was from New Evidence when we were talking to various nuns. It couldn't have been New Evidence. Well, it's one of the 7,000 nuns we came across in season 4. That was all we did.
A reminder that we have many listeners who are not current with the pod. They're seasons back.
That's right.
So we still love you guys too.
Yes, absolutely. She said the nun in that picture played the murder victim in the iconic and great, in the opinion of many, Columbo episode, Etude to Black, with John Cassavetes as the killer. Cassavetes offs her after a long conversation establishing motive. You're probably too young to be huge Columbo fans, but people, such as myself, who have reasonable familiarity with the 70s leg of the series recognize the name. Very cool. See, I love that. You needed a bumper. Who's that nun from Columbo?
You're right. I do watch Columbo. I've been fairly addicted to the streaming service Pluto TV, and they have a channel that's been catching up on all the 70s Columbos. So I have indeed been. It's apropos that this came in.
Awesome. Well, thanks for writing in on the blog. I promise to update it. We, of course, have heard from good friend Phoenix, who writes about last episode, and he wrote a little skit for us. Says, what time is it, Keith? This is the skit we were doing where I was being one of Trump's doctors. And what time is it, Keith? I said, well, clearly we are in a spot in linear time. Phoenix on LSD. False. Mike, can you give us a specific time that ever was at any point? Keith, there are a great deal of specific times throughout time. Phoenix, why the hell am I watching this on LSD? So we have learned so much about our new friend.
Hold on. So I have to, me and Phoenix went back and forth a few times. It turns out he wasn't saying LSD. He was saying ISD, which just confuses me because I don't know what he's referring to with ISD.
I think he's giving himself plausible deniability for when the LSD cups.
All right. I was wondering why every time we speak to him, he's licking at that stamp. So
he also wrote in saying playing the DS9 theme over Renee's credits, Renee Auberjonois from Star Trek, is a nice touch, very classy. Although Odo's bucket as the clue was way too esoteric. I already seen the episode, and I've seen all seasons of DS9 4 times, and I didn't even get it. And here I was thinking it was going to be too obvious. I don't know. I resonated with the bucket on DS9. It was like it was symbolic of Odo's self-esteem. So it was always a very important. It wasn't quite Rosebud the sled, but it was definitely like how the bucket played the role spoke to how Odo was feeling about his own identity as a changeling.
Translation: Mike was right.
Fair enough. And Jorge Navoa, founding sponsor Jorge Navoa, just asked us quite straightforwardly, do you swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but? And we can't really do any of those things, but we swear a lot.
Did you know?
Yeah,
I know you got more. Did you know we got a review this week on the Apple Podcast? Somebody joined the jury.
I'm getting to it.
Oh, all right. I didn't feel the excitement, so I felt maybe I hadn't met. Jen had to tell me it happened. So
no, I caught it, and we're going to get to it. But first, we got a very interesting email from our new friend who is going to go by Mo here, and he says, "Hey guys, I was too young to watch the show during its original run, but like 5 years ago, I watched every season and loved it. I really enjoy the podcast and the laid-back vibe, but I gotta ask, do you want me as a listener? I'm a 28-year-old white male from California living in Long Island, New York. You would probably assume that I'm a bleeding heart lib, but I'm a Republican and a proud Trump supporter. You guys are really funny, but is it necessary to take so many shots at Republicans? You don't like the president, I get that, I'm used to it, but come on, it's so over the top. I'm not some far-right guy. I actually disagree with the hardcore pro-life guys. To be honest, I don't understand the obsession with abortion from both sides. Anyway, Keith is really talented, I love the most valuable lawyer thing, and seems like a nice guy, but so closed-minded. Ironically, your party is supposed to be the party of empathy, but you show zero empathy towards Republicans. You imply that all Republicans are buffoons, and that Senator Graham isn't a good man. He says Mike is cool too and always thirsty. I apologize for ranting, but back to my original question. Do you want me as a listener? I just want an answer. I'm not looking for you guys to stop bashing the president or anything. I just want to know if I'm welcome. Oh, and I'm a huge Tom Brady fan.
No, that's where I draw the line.
That is, that's really where we have a problem. Oh, seriously. What the hell? Tom Brady, come on. Yeah, well, I feel we got this last week, and I've been like searching for exactly how to respond, because I think it's a very interesting question, and of course we want you as a listener. Of course we do. Part of the great things about the practice is that it's about the conversation. Mm-hmm. It's about talking through these things and bringing up injustice. But and I will say, you talk about empathy, and I do have empathy for you. I mean, I know, I can imagine that being plunked down in a community where the vast majority of people feel and think differently than you, that's difficult. And if you dropped me into Kentucky, I imagine that would definitely be hard. Mm-hmm. And so I get that that's a tough position to be in. And I get that it's tough to be, listening to a podcast that isn't about politics and having things that you support and agree and care about getting knocked around. And so I get that. I really do. That said, I guess I do believe that a politician's words and actions are revealing of their character and intentions. If I feel like a policy is harmful or creates or reinforces injustice or is not working on behalf of all, then I reserve the right to express my opinion about it and putting it in, and the people putting it in place. So, short answer, if you're acting like an asshole on any side of the political spectrum, I'm sure there's a good reason for it. You may not have chosen where you came from or who brought you up, and I have empathy for how you got there, but you're still acting like an asshole, especially, perhaps exclusively so, if what you are doing is harming others. So we really want this to be a space for people with all sorts of different opinions. That's what makes the practice great. You don't want to have an amazing case where Eugene and Helen are arguing the same side of something. But that said, I think if people are coming in with good faith and if I think something that the president is doing is shitty, I'm going to call it out. And if you're doing shitty behavior, I'm going to call you out for doing shitty behavior. So, but you are absolutely welcome, and please write in. And if you have stuff you want to talk about, let's talk about it. By all means, keep listening if you care to. And it's all about the conversation, and we're happy to have it.
Yeah, I think I was able to succinctly say what I wanted to in my response. Do you have that up by any chance? I don't have the emails open.
I can.
I think that would probably
say it less succinctly for a second, and then I'll.
Well, I do want to point out, and this is for all listeners, I don't mean this to sound antagonistic in any way. Also, a quick reminder, I do pose links in the show notes and on YouTube, so you can skip this opening 45 minutes anyway. If you don't want to hear about our sort of like hot takes on what's happening in current events or just us bullshit with one another, you can skip right to the episode. And that's not just if you want to skip our politics, because generally, though we discuss our politics during the episodes, it's usually more framed around the episode of television we're watching. Because at the end of the day, like Keith mentioned, we're talking about a television show. We just bullshit in the beginning because we're narcissists and lonely. Truly. So you can skip that if it's not that you're not welcome, but if you're feeling unwelcome, if you're feeling it like it's boring or it's not speaking to you, feel free to skip it. We're really not offended. Totally. That said, it is our podcast, and so we are going to speak our politics, and that doesn't mean that your voices aren't welcome. And go ahead and you can read that email. Yeah, no, fair enough. Here's what you said. Yes, we want you as a listener. How utterly boring if we don't listen and invite dissenting opinions. You're saying this better than I said in all the things. We wear our political views on our sleeves loudly, but in no way mean to disrespect anyone's personal beliefs. Clearly, we get off topic all the time, but that's just because it's the nature of us. But the meat and potatoes of the show always will be the show, mostly. We can't and won't promise to cool it with the president, but when you think it's too much or have a pertinent objection, you've discovered the best way to air it. In fact, with your permission, we'd like to read the episode. This on this. Of course, you don't have to continue to listen. That is your absolute prerogative, but you are wholeheartedly invited to our little gallery, and your voice is valued. So you said all that all better than I did. But that doesn't mean I won't tell you straight up you're wrong about Tom Brady. Although Tom Brady has been absolutely killing it, so I don't know that there's any way to even back that up. He's 43 years old and not pretty good. Monster. He's a monster. He's a terrible person. He and the president are coming to eat your babies. Yes, exactly. They're going to join your sex cult. No, you know what, Mo, I'll say this, because I know you're listening out of order, but you're going to probably tune in for this one because your email's getting read. You also are the first person, I'm sure you're not the only Republican who's listened to the show or somebody who's felt a little ostracized by our pretty intense haranguing, but you had the balls and the courage to write in and call us on it. So that, I don't want to say call us on it. I'm not tacitly agreeing we've done anything wrong, but you spoke your piece and that's awesome. And we're that's the type of person we're welcome into our community. For sure.
Well, speaking of people, we are welcoming places.
Mr. Foreman, the jury has reached its verdict.
I love when I hear this one.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Welcome to the jury.
What say you?
We have heard from a new jury member. We are welcoming in a new jury member. And how did this person join the jury, you ask? Well, they left us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service. Just let us know that it's there so we can welcome you properly. And this is Natalie M9, who wrote, "Fun to listen to you. I enjoy the humor and hearing others' opinions on this 20-year-old show. Overall, I enjoy this podcast, and the guys do a great job with their jingles and sound effects." Overall.
For the most part.
I love the qualification.
Yeah. It's really special.
I don't disagree.
No.
I completely agree. Anyway, thank you so much. Welcome to the jury. It is now desperately time for us to hop back into the time machine. And when are we going back to? We're going back to November 12th, the year 2000. And I would like to know, everyone would like to know, what were you doing?
This day in the basement.
What was the date?
November 12th, the year 2000.
Wow.
Almost literally 20 years ago.
Yeah, almost literally my birthday. You'll recall my
That's
birthday is
right.
on the 13th of November. So I'm about to turn 20 years old. So yeah.
Literally a half a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Actually, I remember precisely. So I was still dating my girlfriend at the time. Carrie was her name. And she said a really special thing to me. I'll never forget. We were at my house and my brother was there and we were all having a conversation. We were chatting about something. I don't recall what that was. And I never, you had brothers, Keith, and my older brother and I have always been really close. I've almost never felt any sort of competition with him. It's a really kind of a weird thing about my family. Whereas most siblings are at each other's throats, we've always been a very cooperative family. We play games in co-op mode. It's completely different than my wife's family. They're all like, they want to win.
That's more, my family will eat you alive.
Yeah, it feels that way. So, my brother was, he's a great orator as well. And he's very learned and and sometimes, whereas I never felt in competition with him, sometimes I could feel a little, let me think of a good word to describe it. Less than at times. When I was younger, I was a little more reserved and a little less confident. And so I could feel a little overshadowed at times. Long story short, it was on my birthday that year, because the next year is another it's a different birthday, as I was my first year in New York. But she turned to me after my brother had left the conversation, and she said to me, "I'm so glad that you're you, and that's the person I'm with." And I thought that was such a special thing to say to somebody. It's almost like she could intuit that I needed to hear that at that moment. And it was really special, which is the memory I'd like to hang on to, because how she broke up with me was pretty terrible. But it was nice. It was a really nice and special kind of moment, and I'll always remember that. So my 20th birthday was pretty good. It was a pretty good birthday.
That is such a great thing to say and to hear. Maybe we all, after, we go through this time, maybe everybody has somebody in their life that they feel that way about. Mm-hmm. And we should say it.
I think you're right.
We should say it more often. Yeah, well, that's nice. That's very nice.
What about you, Keith? How are you doing up there in Rochester?
Well, nothing quite so heartfelt. I was again going through what this year meant to me at school. And I think it was at this point I was finishing up tonal music theory and beginning a full year of atonal music theory in school. And for the life of me, I love tonal music theory. Atonal music theory, I got it, but I didn't get it.
I think it's worth describing to folks what atonal musicality is.
Okay, well, in tonal music theory, it's based upon a structure of keys and major and minor and a couple of other scales and keys that relate to each other. You're creating chords within the context of the key that you're in. So if you're in the key of C, you have a whole bunch of chords within that key, and then you're this, that, the other thing. Or atonal basically just throws all of that out the window. And you're working on a 12-tone scale as opposed to the 8. Like the 8-tone scale is like do re mi fa sol. I mean from Music Man, not Music Man.
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. Whereas atonal, well, I mean, it could actually go beyond that with semitones and completely without tone. But for the most part, the theory of it is you're working on all 12 notes of the scale. So if you go to your piano, there's 12 of them between C and C, going up chromatically. So you're not working in a key anymore, and it becomes this huge. A lot of it, or at least the theory that they taught, was all of these sort of mathematical equations and working in opposing directions, and it was how do these things fit in relation to each other. We spent weeks on hexachordal combinatoriality, which I don't even remember what the fuck it was, but I remember learning that word and having to do it. I can't believe we spent almost a full year on atonal music and atonal music history too. That was the only class I've ever fallen asleep in. In my entire life, I fell asleep in the 8:30 a.m. atonal music history class. But it was such a crazy thing. It was almost like my French class, which I was also taking then. I attended it, I passed it, I understood it at the time, but it is gone, all completely gone, because that's not the type of music that I write. Whereas the tonal music theory, I still use every single day, and I'm still excited about it. I'm jazzed about it. Like Jillian is helping teach a music theory class in the weekends, and like I'm like, oh, what did you teach today? Let's talk about it. It's all fun.
It's
But
very
atonal.
akin to so Carl Sagan did this great discussion about the fourth dimension, like the space-time dimension,
Mhm.
and basically uses an analogy of
Phoenix, we should
you're-
give you an LSD warning before we get into this.
yeah, you should imagine a flatlander, a person who lives in a two-dimensional universe.
Mhm.
Imagine them trying to then comprehend the third dimension. You can't. It's outside of your experience.
Right.
And trying to wrap your head around that feels what trying to understand atonality is, right? Because it's like, here's all the rules of music. Now, then there's this other flavor where none of the rules really apply. So, yeah.
Or completely different rules apply. And that's what I was sort of surprised by as I understood it more, because I thought it just meant, do whatever the fuck you want. But actually, there's a whole mess of other sets of rules to be working by, and or you can throw stuff out. I'll talk
like
about
free
it.
free jazz. It's like it
Yeah, it's like-
sounds
it's
like
real
weird
free.
shit's happening, but listen to the bass player. There's
Yeah.
something he knows where the changes are. So
We'll talk
they're
about
operating under
We'll talk about it next season. But I did an atonal opera my senior year, which was unbelievably difficult. But once I got to know it actually rehearsing and getting to know the show and performing the show, it really became intensely beautiful, because when you're working outside of regular standard tonalities, you're all over the place, rhythmically and note wise, but then you can just dip your toe into something a little bit more melodic, and then just because of the context, it's like and so it was this really fascinating experience to be hopping around. It's an opera called Transformations, and it was an atonal opera version of Anne Sexton's tellings of the Grimm's fairy tale. So it was super dark and weird, and we're all in an insane asylum. But then, every once in a while, it would hook into this incredibly gorgeous music, and it was actually quite moving once you got there. But it was a journey to get there.
I don't know why I'm inputting this. I'm sorry, but I'm putting it in there. There's an album, Radiohead. That's my favorite band. Their Kid A album. There's a song called "How to Disappear Completely and Never Be Found," and the whole song is very 1/4/5. very common chord structure. But during the whole piece, and it's Radiohead, so it's a dark piece, obviously, there's a violin or a combination of strings that are playing, just riding a note that is completely not related to the key, in a different key. It is out of place, and it's irritating and eerie, all right? And it makes you feel offset the whole time. But then, towards the very end of the song, the climax, the whole key resolves into that key.
Yeah.
And it's now a major mode. The whole song is in a minor mode, and then it's in a major mode. And it elicits an emotional relief, an emotional release and response. And that's, for me, one of the times where it makes sense. You know what I mean? Where it's, I can see where it has its uses, right? So you can combine the two things.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that analogy, because I think it is where as a composer, as a writer, as a nerd, this is where you have the intersection of math and emotion, because you can use math to elicit emotion, because music is math, but music is also emotion. I don't know. It's this is why I love music so much, is because of you have this ability to create this thing within this structure that touches something completely unrelated to itself, and something unique and special to every single person. You hear the same chord, everybody hears the same chord, but it means something different to everybody else. It means something different to everybody. So, wow, we really went off the. We went into music. We'll do another podcast on atonal.
Yeah, put it on the
music.
list. Put it on our list of podcasts. We got to.
Oh
whip
boy,
up.
Keith and Mike talk atonal music. That'll get a lot of hits.
Right after they just did a whole thing on politics.
On politics. And now we're going to talk about a 20-year-old TV show, because we are finally. Oh wait, no, it's not. No, we're not. We're staying in 20 years ago, because it's time for.
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Okay, well, this week's number one hit was one I was looking forward to, because it always makes me laugh. It is, of course...
Close my eyes, begin to pray, and tears of joy stream down my face, with arms wide open under the sunlight.
It is, of course,
Welcome to
Arms
this
Wide
place.
Open by everybody's favorite band, Creed.
With arms wide open.
This cover, dude.
With arms wide open. So, yeah, everybody enjoy hearing that. Well, we talked
Keith,
about the cover. Oh, go ahead.
I have to interject. I'm sorry. I have to go off the rails for a minute. I forgot. I mentioned months ago that this portion of my life is like, there's a lot of gaping holes
Right.
in my that I've repressed or that have just gone away. I just remember that song elicited a memory that I have to talk about. We're going into full therapy mode right now.
Let's do it. Yeah, we were just talking about how music means something different to everybody.
At some point in the past couple months since this album released, so going back in time a little bit, before I met my girlfriend that I have now in this time space,
Right.
I'll never forget my pen pal from Canada, Janine, came to the United States to visit. I know this because I remember making out in my car to this song.
I think a lot of people made out in their car to this song.
Even though it's ostensibly a terrible song.
But it's very catchy. It is undeniably catchy.
Oh man, in real time, it unlocked a memory that I had long since forgotten. So sorry, I'm in a place now. Go ahead.
Whoa, what a
tell me
happy
about
memory.
the Burlington Free Press.
You were making out with somebody. I promise you, I was not making out to Creed, because this didn't get a lot of play in the Eastman dorms.
I'm gonna level with you right now, Keith.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Making out is underplaying it. I believe I lost my virginity to this song is what I'm saying.
Oh my God! Now that's a real that's
at like 18, 19 years old. Yeah.
You played Hide the Pickle to Creed. Wow.
With a Canadian.
With your girlfriend who lived in Canada. Wow, guys, this has been a very revealing episode.
I'm a little embarrassed. Am I getting flush?
No. Hey, look, we all had to do it somehow, listening to something, and
at least it wasn't
Creed.
sobs.
No, the subs were after.
Oh, we played too much Creed, by the way. Oh no, it's a cover, right? Okay.
It's a cover. Yeah. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. Whew. Anyway,
Tell me about the front page.
the front page of the Burlington Free Press.
Mike
Was-
loses virginity. Mike taps first maple tree.
Mike sticks it in the sap hole for the first time.
Oh, deep cut for Out of Practice podcast listeners.
Oh yeah. Wow, I think this is like the pilot. Wow. Anyway, so the Burlington Free Press, of course, said Bush sues to stop count. So this was
What a
of
downer.
course- I know. While they were stealing the election in 2000, and yes, the opinions expressed by me are expressed by me. Yeah, so this was the beginning of the long process of trying to stop people's votes from being counted. The top movie, we got through the entire cover. The top movie was Charlie's Angels in its second week of dominance, which takes us forward finally to the important segment.
It's time for Sportsball.
The New York Football Giants walked into the juggernaut that was the greatest show on turf and lost the 38-24 matchup at Giant Stadium. Rams backup Trent Green threw for 4 touchdowns against Kerry Collins' 3, including 2 to Ike Hilliard. The game dropped the Giants to a still very good 7-3. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Football Eagles won an overtime thriller against cross-state rival Pittsburgh Steelers 26-23. Jerome Bettis rushed 30 times for $134 and a touchdown.
Somehow in the move, I deleted that overlay, but oh well, I'll get it next time.
Oh man, I didn't have anything blocking my face while I did that.
Keith, can I make a plug real quick while we're here? I think it's apropos.
I mean, we've just thrown all the rules out.
We'll get back on track next week, maybe.
No.
Tomorrow, which is when the day this podcast drops, if you're one of those people who listens on the day, and you like our politics or disagree with them, I'm hosting a Don't Trust the Internet game show, GOP edition, We Go Low edition, it's called, where we will be asking all kinds of trivia about the grand old party.
Fun.
About hoaxes, about bullshit lies, about all kinds of stuff. So you can go to seizetheshow.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's tonight at 7 or 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I don't remember which one, but should be a good time. Thanks for the plug.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, check it out. I mean, hey, look, maybe one of the presidents can show up.
I was going to ask you if we can maybe use your confefe.
Gaveve. Sure, you can use whatever you want.
Great.
I'll be comedian. Like game shows. All right. It is. Oh, you know what it's time for?
Weather.
Can you tell me
The weather. 'Cause we all need to know. Was it hot or did it snow? Tell me the weather.
From 21
20.
years ago.
Exactly half a lifetime ago.
Well, the weather was hot and steamy, if you catch my drift. Even though it was cold outside, in that Honda Prelude, it was nice and warm. And just like my preparation for this week's weather segment, it was over way too quickly. It did not take place long enough. So, that's all I
do
got.
hope it was protected, however. I hope you wore your raincoat.
I believe so, unless, who knows, if you live in Vancouver currently, or Surrey, BC, and you have big, bushy eyebrows,
And
give me
you're
a call.
exactly 20 years old, or 19 years and 3 months old.
Yeah,
Wow. 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 This is an entire episode about Creed helping Mike lose it. Congratulations.
The opening number on this album was a banger too. I'm trying to remember it. Anyway,
I can't tell you. My Creed knowledge is only this wide open. Okay, so that leaves us time.
I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. And I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the damn episode.
Okay, this episode is The Practice, Season 5, Episode 6, entitled Show and Tell. Like Mike did in the back of the Honda Prelude, he showed and he told, and then he told about it on the internet 20 years later. This was written by David E. Kelley and directed by West Wing director Alex Graves, who last directed Res Ipsa Loquitur.
loved that one.
I know, I'm excited because it's Alex Graves, which means it's going to be a big episode. And we only have one last thing to do before we listen to it, and that is...
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
I don't play guitar, I make both hands do the stuff.
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Show and tell. I see a lav mic right here. And for the sake of everyone, I hope this is the final chapter of the wife is dead, lying brother on the stand case. Bobby's guy is going Bruce Davidson is going slightly crazy in jail. It's finally time for his retrial, and I think they're going to put on a great show. But in the end, Bruce is caught on a hot mic, revealing that he actually did kill his wife. And so that's going to be my big swing.
Season 5 is the season of big swings. I like it. All right, it is now time for you to hop over to your podcasting service of choice to listen to us listen to The Practice, Season 5, Episode 6.
Politics free.
There's probably going to be some politics. Okay, we are back. We have just have shown and told about The Practice, Season 5, Episode 6. It is now time for us to discuss it. And the way we begin every discussion is...
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
I've lost a few precious seconds. It's a documentary, baby. Richard Bay, Bobby Donnell, head-to-head clash. We're retrying the Bruce Davidson case. Guess what? We see all kinds of stuff. Here is an argument. There is an argument. Everywhere is an argument. But in the end, enough reasonable doubt exists, and Bruce is let go. Bobby wins it. Richard Bay loses again. And Judge Zoe says, I don't have a damn clue.
Wow, that was... You know, I think you did encapsulate what happened. I'm not sure I'd want to see that episode, though.
Yeah.
Welcome to this place. I'll show you everything.
You'll show me everything?
Well, you showed her everything.
Well, it wasn't much to show. The jury came back quickly. Let's just say that.
Oh, it was a prelude to something. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelley Productions, proudly present...
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Well, they're the fake award show we do at the every of the end episode.
Yep.
At the every of the end episode, and we always begin with
Most valuable.
They tried in the first episode. They tried in the second episode. They tried in the third episode.
They did.
In the fourth episode, they tried again.
They still tried.
In the fifth episode,
what did they do?
They were still going.
They tried.
Still going. The sixth episode, they did it. Bobby Donnell and Associates, helmed by Bobby Donnell himself. He took it to 11. He cried. He flashed those baby blues. He did everything necessary. And he got his potentially murdering buddy off. And so as he goes off into the sunset of innocence, I hand my oopsie to Bobby Donnell and Associates and Bobby Donnell.
It's clearly Bobby. Yeah. I mean, Bobby stuck with it. He kept fighting. He was he overcame both of the DAs in all of Boston. There are two now.
Yeah.
And and they did it. Congratulations, Bobby Donnell. Bobby McDonald. Next up.
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck. Or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go. But you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
I have a lot of mugs.
You do. You're very muggy over there.
Ain't that the truth? Man alive. He's been annoying the living hell out of me for the past 5 episodes, but he really brought it home in his finally he was allowed to testify on the stand. And what the hell's his name?
Bruce Davidson.
Oh, that's his actual name. What was the character's name?
I don't know.
We really just there was no wall for him. He just was Bruce Davidson.
He's that guy.
Yeah. He was, but he
Bruce
wins
Davidson
an oopsie.
was actually on trial.
It took him the longest to win an oopsie, but he won it finally for me.
Yeah. I thought he did a tremendous job.
Yes.
With that monologue. And, I'll talk a little bit more about sort of this character's crazy element being a bit of a red herring because we didn't really see any of it in this episode, but I'll talk about that in the spare tires section. I thought he did a really excellent job making that monologue very believable. And in what you said, it wasn't Shakespearean. It was very human. And I thought that was a very, very, very well done, and glad we stuck around, or he stuck around for us to see it. So congratulations, Bruce Davidson, on your best guest actor. Next up.
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show. Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Dylan McDermott is excellent. And I sing his praises all the time.
All the time.
I thought that Jason Kravitz absolutely, we talked about this, I can't remember who, Lucy at one point, Eleanor at one point, when they weren't being given a lot to do in the show. Then they were given that kind of featured episode and they take the ball and run with it. That happens with all of our ensemble cast. And I thought Jason this time, when he saw that script, he was like, hell yeah. He came in prepared. He knocked it out of the park. Every scene he did in the courtroom and every scene he did face to face with the documentary crew, I thought was just well honed, subtle, nuanced, and excellent. So Jason Kravitz wins my OOPSY Award for Best Actor.
Yeah, I mean, we're unanimous thus far because about halfway through this episode, I was like, Jason is crushing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very interesting character that he's created here, who has much more depth than your typical villain on a show like this. And you can sort of see all the layers of sort of narcissism going on there, insecurity, and yet he's still very likable at the same time. Yeah, he was great. So Jason Kravitz, this is your first Best Actor cast member. Oopsie. So congratulations. That's a first time you join the cast, you get your oopsie. Very, very exciting. And let's see if we're still unanimous on
the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
All right, first we'll show on the screen. I don't know who won last week?
No, well, this was the Tom Brady jamming with Ray Charles and Judge Judy, which that one took me longer than any other one I have done thus far.
How about this week's winner for the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady? Let's go outside the universe of the show and say it's Tom Brady getting steamy in his car listening to Creed. Tom Brady. I won't go fully there, but I'll go close enough.
Tom Brady getting steamy in his...
I can't wait to see how you get Creed involved in this.
Open with arms ready to open. Okay, well, that's very exciting. I will listen to this the whole time I'm photoshopping that awkward interaction.
Do you think he's doing a voice, or is that how he sings?
This sings. Yeah, I think that's just how he sings.
Oh, okay.
Which is why the song is Ermsword Erpen if you actually spell it out.
With no consonants.
Consonants. I sing in the song right. Okay, anyway, we're going to move forward. It's now time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
Well, you know, it was good. It was real good. How good was it, Mike? It was good. I liked it a lot. Just like the Jimmy episode, I don't know that it carried as much emotional weight for me because obviously that we were dealing with the death penalty and you kind of bring your own sort of emotions and feelings into that conversation. This was there was less a focal issue at hand. And what I thought was interesting at the very end, so yes, there was some fatigue with the storyline. So that affects my overall opinion. But what I thought was really I'm impressed by is at the end when Bobby and Bruce share that moment, there's this moment of relief and this moment of joy and they're overcome with emotion. I really felt the friendship and loyalty in that little beat there more than I felt it in any of their other encounters, really. And that might be because of what you're going to speak about, the red herring they were trying to play, riding the line. But those stakes actually made it about that a little bit more, and I would have liked to have seen that throughout the arc because I found that to be quite powerful, and it kind of rooted it in something, made me root for him as a character more, because otherwise I didn't really. It was kind of about Bobby versus Richard. So, yeah, so that redeemed a little bit of it for me, and I wonder had they not drug it out for so long, whether that would have been more powerful for me. But nonetheless, all the performances were really great. I thought the direction was really excellent. They really nail these documentary episodes. Is it the same director as the documentary episode?
No, Alex Graves didn't direct the previous one. I checked. Okay.
Well, regardless, I really liked it. I'm gonna go out on a limb and give it. I'm gonna give it 8.75 spare tires.
Whoa! Whoa!
Practice podcast.
Oh my God! You so exciting! You just
I hit a timpani and the whole thing.
You sure did. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that you said there, and I do think I'm looking up who directed Spirit of America. It was Michael Schultz. Yeah, I mean, certainly this episode suffers from story fatigue, and I think it wasn't the fact that the story went on for that long. It's that there wasn't as much variation in the storytelling. There really wasn't a lot of, now that we can see the whole thing all together. I don't think we had anything that happened previous to this episode that was really necessary for us as an audience. I don't think we really learned anything or gained much ground other than Helen's change of heart. I guess that would be the one piece of it, but we've seen that in other storylines this season. So it felt like the first 5 episodes of this just could have been cut.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm show running this, I just cut the first 5 episodes because they weren't necessary. You could have this episode stands alone. It doesn't need any other explanation, doesn't need any more backstory. It's all clear and contained right here. And as I said, I was going to mention that him going crazy, now seeing it in context really feels more of like a red herring, because they were setting him up to be like, blah, 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 like throwing bananas in the courtroom.
Yep.
And it never bore out. And I'm glad that it didn't in a lot of ways. I'm disappointed because I was hoping it was leading to something as opposed to just sort of being filler to get to this point. But I think we got a better episode with this because it didn't go, cuckoo bananas there. And I think
right.
I wonder if that's Alex Graves' hand saying like, I don't think we need it. Let's not have him, go nuts. And I think that's why this episode itself, as a self-contained unit, was a terrific episode. It's too bad that we had all the nonsense before it that we sort of wasted a lot of time with. So all in all, I was about to give a number, but I think I have one more thing to say. And I think that is the reason we don't care about this for 6 episodes is the character that Bruce plays is not really that likable. And that I never really rooted for him. He was always sort of ungrateful and angry.
Entitled a bit.
Entitled. And, I get it. I mean, you're on trial for murder. Your wife committed suicide. Like, you're in a bad way. But from a storytelling standpoint, I want to be given one hook in that makes him likable, that makes me have empathy for him, that makes me connect with him in some way. And it's not enough just having Bobby say, I like this guy. Mm-hmm. I need a reason as an audience member to like him too, because
you can cover that hole a little bit more. You can cover the hole a little bit more if they take the opportunity to delve into who in Bobby's past is this guy. Why is their relationship so strong? Even Lindsay and her buddy from art class, they talked enough about that relationship that we were like, okay, we're supposed to buy into this guy. And we didn't get that here.
I mean, if I'm writing this, right, I'm looking for something. All right, so he might have killed his wife, but he really likes dogs. Or he's really good with his grandmother or his kid or something. We see some sort of a connection to him that makes us have empathy for him and care for him. We just didn't get that. So as a storyteller, I would want to raise the stakes of this with that, because otherwise the stakes are like, yeah, I wonder if they're going to win or lose. I don't really know. Not, oh my God, like with Bea Richards' characters, our heart was going to break for that character if he got thrown in jail. Where this, I'm like, I don't know. This kind of seems like a prick. So I think that really would have helped this. That said, that is the very, very long way of saying, as a standalone episode, and I judge these all as standalones, I thought it was really excellent. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. So that is 8.6752535. Math. Okay. Guys, we have gotten through another episode of the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to reach out to us, and we're really happy to hear from you, you can reach us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast, just Out of Practice. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can check out the blog, which I'm going to update, I promise, outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. The Out of Practice podcast is brought to you by generous donations from our good friends Jennifer Massanova, Leanne writes, Jorge Navoa, feel free to make the slide go, and Cloud Lovers 69. I did all the top of my head.
Yeah, that's
take
pretty
that.
good. If you would like to join them, you can leave a one-time donation or a monthly contribution. You can do so by accessing the links in the show notes. And if you cannot, because you would like to donate to your favorite politician of choice, or you need that spare cash to make a plan to vote, don't sweat it. You can also help us out by leaving a rating or review, or just telling a friend to check out the Out of Practice podcast. Don't even have to watch the practice to enjoy the show. Keith, I'm going to ask you, man, when I've jumped to the shark, I want you to go ahead and keep me alive for 5 days, 5 full episodes. And then finally, when you're done, go ahead, pull the plug, and shoot off those laser sounds, buddy.
Laser sounds, go vote.
Make a plan, go vote.
Do it.
And we're going to definitely talk about the results of that vote for sure.
Please don't make us cry on the air again.